The baby monitor crackled. Emily shot up in bed, heart pounding. She wasn't sure what she'd heard. A thump, a grunt, maybe just static. But something felt off. Beside her, Dan groaned, half asleep. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Dan rubbed his eyes. "Probably nothing. Go back to sleep." But Emily was already out of bed, bare feet padding across the floor. The monitor emitted a faint hiss now, followed by a strange low sound. Like a growl? She stopped. No, it couldn't be. She pressed her ear against the door of Lily's nursery. Silence. Then another sound. A soft, heavy breath that didn't belong to her 6-month-old daughter. Emily's hand shook as she turned the knob. Moonlight spilled into the room from the half-drawn curtains. The pastel wallpaper cartoon animals seemed to blur as her eyes locked on the crib. There, inside, asterisk, asterisk, inside the crib, asterisk, asterisk, was a massive Pitbull. The dog was crouched over Lily, its blocky head looming inches from her tiny face. Its body filled the crib, rigid and unmoving. Emily couldn't even see Lily's chest rise. She screamed. Dan bolted in behind her and yanked her back into the hallway. He slammed the door shut, pressing his back against it like it could stop whatever was happening on the other side. "There's a dog in the crib. What the hell is going on?" Emily sobbed. "I don't know." Dan shouted, grabbing his phone and dialing 911. "There's a pit bull in my baby's crib," he said. "We don't own a dog. We don't know where it came from. Just send someone fast." The dispatcher told him to stay put. Officers were on their way. Emily slid down the wall, arms around her knees, eyes wide. "Do you think I hurt her? Oh, God, what if she's—" Don't say it," Dan said, though his face had gone pale. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Emily leaned forward, trembling, and pressed her ear to the door again. Nothing, not even the growl this time. "Should we check?" she whispered. Dan shook his head. "We wait for the police." They both flinched at the sound of heavy boots running up the porch steps. 3 officers stormed in, led by one with a firm voice and calm eyes. Officer Ramirez. Dan pointed toward the nursery. "In there, big Pitbull. Our baby's in the crib." The officers drew tranquilizer guns and eased open the door. Emily gripped Dan's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. Inside, the Pitbull remained exactly where it was, sprawled in the crib, looming over Lily like a statue carved from muscle and shadow. Its ears flicked as the officers approached, but it didn't move. "I've got a clear shot," one officer said. "Wait," Ramirez said. "Look at the baby." They froze. Ramirez stepped closer, lowering his weapon, and knelt beside the crib. The beam of his flashlight passed over Lily's tiny face. Her skin was pale, lips slightly parted, eyes closed. He leaned in. "She's not breathing," he whispered. Emily screamed again and rushed forward before anyone could stop her. The officers didn't shoot. The dog hadn't moved. Ramirez placed 2 fingers on Lily's neck, feeling desperately for a pulse. "She's alive, but barely." The dog let out a low rumble as the officer reached under Lily to lift her. Ramirez didn't flinch. "Easy, buddy," he murmured. "We're helping." Another officer called for emergency medical support. The Pitbull backed off slowly, muscles tense, but never baring teeth. It leapt out of the crib in one swift motion and sat against the wall, tail still, eyes alert. Emily collapsed to her knees beside Lily as the EMTs arrived seconds later. Ramirez turned to Dan. "You said you've never seen that dog before?" Dan shook his head. "Never. We don't even leave our windows open." Ramirez glanced back at the dog, who now watched them quietly. "It didn't come to hurt her," he said. "It was protecting her." Emily stared, tears streaming down her cheeks, heart hammering against her ribs. Protecting her? How did it get in? Why her baby? The paramedics were working fast. Lily coughed. Just once, but it was enough to make Emily sob in relief. She clutched Dan's hand and whispered, "What is happening?" Ramirez looked down at the Pitbull again. "I don't know yet," he said, "but I think that dog just saved your daughter's life." The paramedics worked in swift, practiced movements, oxygen mask-fitted, tiny chest monitored, heart rate climbing. Lily's body had gone limp from oxygen deprivation, but her vitals were stabilizing. Emily held her daughter's hand, barely able to breathe herself. The Pitbull still sat by the crib, head tilted slightly, watching it all unfold with strange intensity. No barking, no pacing, just a steady gaze that unsettled and somehow comforted at the same time. Officer Ramirez knelt beside the dog, scanning its neck, a collar, worn and frayed, clung tightly around thick muscle. He turned the metal tag over in his fingers. Tank, he read aloud. PTSD companion animal. If found, call Dr. Kendra Lewis. Dan stepped closer. PTSD? Like a veteran's dog? Looks like it, Ramirez replied. Specially trained. These animals are smarter than most people realize. Emily's voice broke through. Then why was he in our house? How did he even get inside? Ramirez didn't answer right away. He stood, dialing the number on the tag. On the second ring, a voice answered. This is Dr. Lewis. Ma'am, I'm Officer Ramirez with the local police. We found a dog named Tank. Does that sound familiar? He put the phone on speaker. Oh my God, the voice said. Yes, that's him. He went missing 2 weeks ago during that bad storm. He slipped out of his enclosure and vanished. We've been looking everywhere. Where did you find him? Ramirez glanced at Emily and Dan, then at Lily. Inside a baby's crib. A long pause. In a crib? Dr. Lewis asked, confused. Yes, he wasn't attacking. He was hovering over the infant. The baby had stopped breathing. EMTs revived her. We think he might have saved her. The silence on the other end turned heavy. That's what he was trained for, Dr. Lewis finally said, her voice trembling. Tank's a specialized medical alert dog. His last handler was a veteran with a toddler who had seizures and breathing issues. Tank learned to detect shallow respiration, especially in infants. He knew how to respond, even if no one else was around. Emily pressed her palm to her chest. Her heart ached. Ramirez raised an eyebrow. You're saying he detected the baby's breathing issue from outside? I wouldn't rule it out, Dr. Lewis replied. Some of these dogs have a sixth sense, and once he detects it, he'll do anything to get to the person in need. Dan exhaled hard. But how did he get in? All our doors were locked. Windows, too. Ramirez frowned. We're still figuring that out. The EMTs wheeled Lily out on a stretcher. Her eyelids fluttered. A soft sound escaped her lips. Emily leaned down to kiss her forehead. We're right here, sweetheart. You're okay. One of the medics turned. We'll take her to County General. She's breathing on her own now, but we'll monitor everything. Tank let out a soft huff as they passed. His gaze followed the stretcher until it disappeared down the stairs. Ramirez looked around the nursery. Nothing broken. No glass. No torn screens. Then something caught his eye. He moved toward the far wall, near the dresser, and crouched. Beneath a shelf, he found a small object, metal, dull in color, speckled with something dark. It was a broken charm bracelet. He turned it over. The clasp was snapped. A tiny heart charm was smeared with blood. Dan's face paled. That's not hers. Emily doesn't wear jewelry like that. Ramirez nodded grimly. This didn't come from inside the house. He bagged the evidence and stood. Stay here. I want to check your security cameras. Minutes later, Ramirez stood in front of their monitor in the living room, fast-forwarding through hours of footage. And then it appeared. A shadow moved across the backyard, just past midnight. A figure in a hoodie crept along the side of the house and approached the back door. Ramirez paused the footage. He zoomed in. The figure fiddled with the lock. Dan swallowed. That's a break-in. The footage continued. A few seconds later, the figure jerked suddenly, then stumbled back. Another shape shot into frame, four-legged. Fast. It was Tank. He lunged at the intruder. The figure fell, scrambled up, and ran off, leaving behind only a trail of blood and a single piece of jewelry. The screen froze on Tank, his body heaving as he watched the retreat. And then, without hesitation, he turned and ran up the back steps. Emily's voice cracked. He chased off the intruder and went straight to Lily. Ramirez nodded, eyes fixed on the screen. I don't think he broke in, he said quietly. I think he was chasing someone out. Emily sat in the hospital waiting room, numb with exhaustion, her hands still trembling. The sun had risen by the time doctors emerged with news. Lily was stable. The near asphyxiation had been caught just in time. Had even another 5 minutes passed, the outcome might have been different. Dan sat beside her, fingers interlaced tightly with hers. Neither spoke. There was nothing left to say that didn't sound like disbelief. A Pitbull had broken into their home, and somehow it had saved their daughter's life. Later that morning, back at the house, Officer Ramirez returned with updates. Forensics had lifted partial prints from the back door's latch, most likely belonging to the intruder. Blood found on the back porch matched the trail leading into the woods behind the neighborhood. They'd likely interrupted an attempted robbery, or worse. Tank was chasing him. Ramirez said plainly, that bracelet, probably torn off during struggle. Emily stood in Lily's nursery, staring at the crib. She imagined the dog, massive and alert, hovering over her daughter's tiny form, staying perfectly still, guarding her fragile breaths. How did he even know she needed help? She asked, her voice thin. Ramirez looked down at the dog, who now lay calmly near the crib again, his massive head resting on his paws. Some dogs are trained to detect distress signals. The vet said Tank could work with child who had seizures. He learned how to sense subtle shifts in breathing, even from a distance. Dan folded his arms. But it's more than that, isn't it? He chased off an intruder. He didn't just sense danger. He responded. Ramirez nodded. He followed instinct. Training. But maybe something else too. Loyalty, maybe. Purpose. That afternoon, Dr. Kendra Lewis arrived at the house. The moment Tank saw her, he rose to his feet, tail wagging slowly. Her eyes welled up with tears as she knelt beside him, scratching under his chin. I missed you, buddy, she whispered. You've been busy. She looked up at Emily and Dan, offering a tired smile. I raised him from a puppy. He was meant to be a lifeline for people who couldn't always speak for themselves. Emily knelt beside them. He was more than that last night. He gave her time, and he gave us a chance. Dr. Lewis nodded. If it's all right with you, I'd like to let him stay. He chose your family. Dogs like him, they don't choose lightly. Dan looked at Emily. She didn't hesitate. He belongs here, she said. He already is. Weeks passed. Lily recovered completely. Doctors confirmed the incident had been positional asphyxia. She had rolled too far onto her side and couldn't self-correct. Had no one intervened, her breathing would have stopped entirely. But someone had. News spread quickly. Headlines ran across local and national stations. Pitbull found in baby's crib saves infant's life. Tank became a sensation. Photos of muscular dog lying beside Lily, her tiny hand curled in his fur. Capture hearts worldwide. But for Emily and Dan, it wasn't about going viral. It was about something more primal, more sacred. A stranger had entered their home with unknown intentions. And another stranger, a creature feared by many, had entered to protect. Emily often sat in the nursery with Tank beside her, Lily gurgling happily in her lap. The dog rarely left her side. He seemed to understand her rhythm, her sounds, her silences. When she cried, he leaned in. When she slept, he rested just close enough to feel her breath. Late one night, Emily found herself whispering to him, I thought you were a threat. I thought you were going to hurt her. But you knew. You knew before we did. Tank opened one eye but didn't move. She smiled and brushed his head gently. You weren't just in the right place. You were meant to be there. In a world quick to judge by appearances, it was easy to see a pit bull and fear the worst. But sometimes salvation comes in unexpected forms, clad not in softness or light, but muscle and instinct and unwavering devotion. That night, something unthinkable had entered their home, but something extraordinary had stayed.